Welcome to the Hannahcast, everybody. My name is Christian Hannah. This is your one-stop shop for movie news for movie nerds. And we don't have Rafael here this week. Sorry, guys. But it's just going to be you and me. And this is going to be a different Hannahcast than usual. Sort of like my second episode of the Hannahcast. This is going to be basically a movie review dump for movies I have not been able to review. I might do another one of these, or maybe I might just try to do quick reviews in a mini podcast format. I don't know. But, yeah, I'm going to be reviewing 13 movies that came out this year in theaters on this episode of the Hannahcast. And those movies are After, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Booksmart, Dumbo, Frozen 2, Glass, The Haunting of Sharon Tate, The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Knives Out, Missing Link, Unplanned, and Us. So, with that being said, let's get on with our first movie review, which is After. This is another young adult romance movie. I don't know exactly who, or, I don't exactly know who stars in this movie. Let me just, this is very unprofessional. But I caught this on Netflix. It's not a Netflix original film. It's just that Netflix got the streaming rights to it. But basically what this movie is about, this is about a girl who has a boyfriend, and this boyfriend's not a bad boyfriend at all. He's actually really loyal and whatnot. But, however, she, for some reason, decides to cheat on him with some other guy, some random British guy. And, look, I'm just gonna say, if you've seen any other shitty, young adult romance movie, then you've seen After. There's nothing remarkable about this movie. Everything is just the same bullshit over and over and over again. The characters, as always, are just so boring. They're not interesting at all. The screenplay is cringy, and once again, I just don't understand this one character, the lead character, Tessa, I think is her name. Why does she cheat on her boyfriend? Why? I really do not get it. He didn't do anything wrong. It's not like, he's an abusive boyfriend or whatever. No, he's just, he's a good boyfriend, and yet she decides to cheat on him anyway. I don't understand it. Man, it's really hard to review movies like this because you've seen these over and over and over again. It's sort of like trying to review the 50 Shades of Grey movies as they went on. I started running out of things to talk about because it's the exact same garbage that we've seen before. So, trying to review After is really, really difficult. I'm telling you, it's just, I honestly don't know what to say about this. The performances are nothing remarkable. Apparently, the British kid, is played by this guy named Hero Fiennes Tiffin. And if Fiennes sounds familiar at all, apparently he is the nephew of Ray Fiennes, who, is a remarkable actor, who's in movies like Schindler's List and The Grand Budapest Hotel, but I know that some of you may not have seen those movies, but you may know him as Voldemort from Harry Potter. That's Ray Fiennes, and his nephew is in this movie. And, well, let's just say his nephew is really not up to par with his, God, I'm already stumbling on my words here. This movie is just so bland. Again, there's nothing to talk about in this movie. There's nothing to talk about because it's just the same garbage over and over and over again. And I'm just running out of things to say. After is, look, I haven't seen all the movies that came out in 2019, of course. I still need to see some movies like A Medea Family Funeral. I still need to see movies like The Fanatic or Overcomer. But as of right now, After would probably be in my top 5 worst movies of the year. But again, that's just saying it right now, considering I haven't seen a lot of the other movies that came out this year. But if you've seen After on Netflix, tell me what you think about it. I hated it. It's again, it's just the same garbage over and over and over again, and I've just run out of things to talk about with these kind of movies. So yeah, I would not recommend After at all, but whatever. But on the flip side of that, now let's talk about the next movie in this review podcast, which is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, a movie about this guy played by what's this guy's name? It's played by this guy named Matthew Rhys, and basically this is the true story about a guy about like a magazine publicist or whatever. Not even publicist, but it's like a magazine writer. Basically, what he does is like he's sent out like what he does is like he whenever the magazine tries to have like this, you know, real life heroes section in their magazine, whenever he interviews those people, he kind of talks shit about them. Like he's not a cool guy. He's kind of mean. He's a douche. And one day he's assigned to interview Mr. Rogers, played by Tom Hanks. And through this true story, apparently, again, this is based on a true story, and the more he talks to Mr. Rogers, the more he reflects on his own life and kind of changes his own life as a result of that. And I was really wanting to see this movie because, I mean, you know, not just because it has some great talent behind it, and it has the director is Marielle Heller, who directed Can You Ever Forgive Me last year, that came out last year, which if you have HBO, it's on there. But I really wanted to see this because Tom Hanks was playing Mr. Rogers. Also, I was also excited for this movie because there was that documentary that came out last year called Won't You Be My Neighbor, which for some reason was not nominated for Best Documentary Feature, which I'm still shocked over, because I love that movie. Guys, I think that's also on HBO. If you have HBO, please, please, please check out Won't You Be My Neighbor, the Mr. Rogers documentary. It's so good. And so, yeah, and like I said, Tom Hanks was playing Mr. Rogers, and that got me interested because Tom Hanks is a really great actor, but I'm not sure if he would be able to pull off Mr. Rogers, because while granted, yes, they are two saints of human beings, Tom Hanks has a kind of, like, I don't know, the way he talks, the way his mannerisms are, he doesn't really, at first, I didn't think he would fit the role of Mr. Rogers. But then I saw the movie, and man, this movie's fantastic. I loved A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. This movie has everything in this movie looks like something that would be in a Hallmark original movie. I'm telling you, it really does feel that way. Like, there's so many things in this movie that could have become so stupid, could have come across as stupid. Like I'm not gonna get into spoilers, but like, there's like certain cues in this movie, or certain things that Mr. Rogers, Tom Hanks, does in this movie that would come across as so stupid, and I mean really stupid, and like on paper. On paper, this would look really, really dumb. But Marielle Heller's direction makes this movie feel genuine and honest. It doesn't come across as cheesy. It doesn't come across as schlocky. It really comes across as so genuine. And Tom Hanks in this movie, wow, he's incredible in this film. I mean, yeah, it's Tom Hanks. I expect him to be amazing. But he slips into the role of Mr. Rogers seamlessly. Like, within the first 20 seconds of you seeing him, or at least that I saw him, I was like, I kind of, like, the Tom Hanks thing just kind of went away in my mind, and I felt like I was watching Mr. Rogers. And he nails down the most important aspect of Mr. Rogers, which was, whenever Mr. Rogers talks to his audience, he's not talking to an audience, he's talking to you. Yes, you, the individual right there. What he says, and the way he looks at the camera when he's doing the show, it doesn't feel manipulative. Like, he feels like Mr. Rogers. It's insane. Which is so weird because, like I said, I wasn't so sure if he was going to fully convince me that he was Mr. Rogers. But man, he nails that down. He really does. And look, yeah, Tom Hanks is really good in this movie, but let's not forget about Matthew Rhys. Matthew Rhys is so good in A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Like, I don't know anything about Matthew Rhys. I honestly don't. He might have been some other things. Okay, well, I'm very sure he's been in other things. But, like, but coming from somebody who doesn't know anything about Matthew Rhys, oh yeah, it looks like he was in The Americans and whatnot. But man, he's so good in this film. He really is. He delivers a great performance. Do I think he's going to be nominated for an Oscar? Probably not. Like the Oscar, like I think all the awards attention is going to be going towards Tom Hanks. And plus, like, it's already a stacked year with lead male performances. And I don't know if Matthew Rhys is going to be able to reach the levels of, like, I don't know, Robert De Niro in The Irishman or Joaquin Phoenix in Joker. But make no mistake about it, Matthew Rhys is very good in this film. And if he's going to be overshadowed by anybody, it might as well be Tom Hanks. This movie is just sweet. It's such a sweet film. It's such a really heartfelt film. And look, I'm not gonna lie, I cried in this movie. Well, maybe not full on, but you know, like tears streaming down my face and whatnot. Like, cause like even if it's just a scene where Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers is just talking, the way he's saying it again just feels like Mr. Rogers is just back again. It really does. Man, I really gotta give it to Marielle Heller for this directing job that she did, because like this could have come across as so schlocky and so silly and cheesy, like a Hallmark original movie, but she manages to make this film feel so genuine. She really does. And guys, if you haven't seen A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, I highly recommend it. I love this movie. It's right now my top 5 movies of the year right now, but again, there's still some movies that I need to see. So it'll probably get bumped off to the top 5. Will it end up in the top 10? I don't know. But we'll have to see. But yeah, I would absolutely recommend A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood if you can find it. It's in theaters right now as I'm recording this. So, yeah, watch this movie. Now, we're gonna check out a movie that again, all of these movies were released in theaters, but, one movie that you can also find on a streaming service is, Booksmart. I was hearing some really good things about Booksmart. It's, directed by, Olivia Wilde. This is her first directing job. And basically, this is about, 2 high school girls, wanting to try to get to a party. Really, a lot of this kind of sounds like Superbad. I mean, it's not really, well, how do I describe it? It's the end of school, and they're wanting to try to get to a pre-graduation party. And, like, that's pretty much where the Superbad similarities end, along with the fact that this is a comedy. But I was hearing some really good things about Booksmart, and you know, I checked it out on Hulu, and yeah, I really loved Booksmart. I thought Booksmart was so good. Let me talk about the lead performances. I'm trying to remember the actresses' names. There's Caitlin Dever, and there's Beanie Feldstein. I don't know, but these two are great. These two work off of each other really, really well. And of course, you do believe that they are really friends. But let's just get to where this movie really shines. The screenplay. It is hilarious. It is really, really funny. There are some parts in this movie that I was just laughing my ass off, because like just the situations that they end up in can get really, really crazy, especially in this one scene involving watching a video in a car. That scene, oh my god, that's so funny. And this is exactly what you really want from a comedy. You just want some really great laughs. You want to, laugh. I don't know what I was trying to lead off with there, but, I mean, yeah, how do I describe it? Let's also like I'm trying to think of more things to say about this movie because like remember when I said there are some movies like I'm actually no. It's not even that this movie's similar to any movie again, other than a little bit of Superbad, but like, I don't know. This isn't really the kind of movie that that there really is a whole lot to talk about. I just think this is a really funny movie. I do think one person I'll say is really funny in this movie as a supporting role is Jason Sudeikis as Principal Brown. He is really funny in this movie, and I was wondering, wow, they got Jason Sudeikis to be in this movie. But then I realized, oh wait, Olivia Wilde is married to Jason Sudeikis, so I guess that can happen. There's also this one really funny character played by Jessica Williams. She plays this character named Miss Fine. And especially her interaction with this one student is really funny, and her interactions with the two leads are really funny as well. I mean, again, I just don't know really what much to say here. It's just a really solid, really funny comedy. Probably worth a like. Well, again, I have to see more movies, but I wouldn't mind if this was in the running for best original screenplay, because like the screenplay in this movie is really good. If I were to have any issues with the film, it's that there's one scene where the two characters are arguing about something, and the like, how to describe it, like music starts playing over it and like kind of drowning them out, and I feel like they could have just went even further with this scene. Like, just don't have any music, don't have any kind of don't like just let them act, just let them say the things that they are saying, because like, you know, this is a scene where the characters are hurt, and you know, I want to see I want to know what they're saying to each other. So there is that. I will also say one thing that was surprisingly really good in this movie, and you're gonna be kind of shocked when I hear this: the cinematography, the camera work in this movie, at least in one specific scene in general. Actually, there's a couple of scenes. Like, there's a couple of scenes where, like, they do like one takes or whatnot. Like, especially this one scene. Like, there's this one scene involving getting out of a pool and whatnot, and it kind of and the shot just kind of goes on as a tracking shot. I really like that. I don't know why, but I just love long takes in movies. I don't know why. But there's one scene where I'm not going to describe it, but it's like, it's a really, like, the way they coordinate the characters in the scene, and the way, like, there's certain colors that light up. The way that's done, I feel like, was really good. And again, it's kind of surprising to say that, you know, this high school comedy, Booksmart, had that kind of really good cinematography. So yeah, I don't really have too much to say about Booksmart. Not because it's bad or anything. No, I thought it was great. But it's not the kind of movie where there is a lot to say anything about it. It's just a really funny comedy. It has some surprisingly great cinematography in a couple of scenes. The performances are all great, especially from the two lead actresses. The screenplay is where this movie really shines. Like, this movie wouldn't, of course, no movie would exist without its screenplay, but you know what I mean. And like I said, there was a scene where where the speech is drowned out in favor of music, and it's a pretty important scene, and didn't really care for that. But hey, if you have Hulu, I would very much recommend checking out Booksmart. I thought this was really good. So yeah. Now on to our next film, which I do have to say a lot about, and that's Tim Burton's remake of Dumbo. Now, this was one of my most anticipated movies of the entire year. I think this was at number 6 in my top 10 list. But, I think it was in number 6. Let me check it out real quick. I'm very, very sure this was in that list. But regardless, I'm not going to check it out right. But yeah, I was really excited for Dumbo because for a couple of reasons. One, it's Tim Burton. Tim Burton's one of my favorite directors. This guy can almost do no wrong, except for Planet of the Apes. Did not care for his remake of Planet of the Apes with Mark Wahlberg. Really did not like that movie. Hell, I will even defend this guy with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I think Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is one of the best movies ever made, in my opinion. Yeah, I said it. People are going to hate me for that, but whatever. I love Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I'm just a really big fan of Tim Burton's work. I think he's a really creative director. And also another thing I really like are the Disney remakes. I know a lot of people hate them, but I thought Alice in Wonderland was really good. I thought Maleficent was decent, as well as what was that movie called? Cinderella. I thought that was decent. I thought Beauty and the Beast was great. Thought Jungle Book was fantastic. Loved Aladdin. I think The Lion King might be one of Disney's best movies ever. Like, it's almost on par with the original. I still think the original Lion King's a little bit better than the remake, but honestly, the remake of The Lion King, I think is vastly underrated. I think it's fantastic. And so, yeah, I was really excited to see Dumbo. And when I got Disney Plus and I watched Dumbo, wow, this is one of the biggest disappointments I've seen in a long time. Jesus Christ. Well, if you don't know what Dumbo's about, well, I mean, it's about, a little baby elephant is born with really big ears, and, he learns to fly, eventually. I mean, like, how do I describe this movie? Well, somehow, like, let me get into some positives first. The visual effects are pretty good. Like, they do look pretty good, in my opinion. The production designing and the costume designing is really good. Danny Elfman's score can be pretty good, although it's not one of his best scores. But man, this movie was, I did not like this movie at all. I really didn't. I wouldn't say it's quite terrible bad. It's not to that level. But that's not really a glowing endorsement. I did not like Dumbo. What did I not like about Dumbo? Well, for one, somehow this film manages to be too long and too short at the same time. Because this movie rushes through the entire story of the original Dumbo very quickly. And I mean very, very quickly. Like, the Baby of Mine scene in Dumbo? The Baby of Mine scene? Which, when I actually watched the original Dumbo before on Disney Plus. That scene made me cry, the Baby of Mine scene. It's so good. The remake of Dumbo? Oh, I kid you not. The Baby of Mine scene in the remake of Dumbo happens before the 30-minute mark in a movie that's 2 hours long. What? I'm serious. They just rush through the original Dumbo like that. Now, maybe I wouldn't mind if, hey, this new story involving another circus could be interesting, right? No, it's not. It's really not. It just drags the movie down, and I don't care about these characters. That's another problem. These characters are so uninteresting. They are so uninteresting. They aren't likable. I mean, not to say that they are jerks or whatever. I mean, okay, well, like, there's the Michael Keaton character, but he's the villain. But it's like, I don't care about these characters. Like, I don't know what it is, but, like, they have, like, no personality. Like, for example, let's talk about, what is it, Colin Farrell, the main star of this movie. Oh my god. It felt like he was sleepwalking through this film. It's like I don't know if he was phoning it in or if that was what the character needed, but good god, I did not give a shit about this character. Even though there's every reason for you to give a shit about him. I just don't know what it was about Colin Farrell in this movie, but for some reason, and look, Colin Farrell's a great actor. He's really, really good. Like, he was fantastic in Saving Mr. Banks, and I'm excited for him to be the Penguin in the upcoming Batman movie that's coming in 2021. But I don't know what happened with him and Dumbo. Like, this, like, he's so boring in this movie. Danny DeVito's fine. Like, he's Danny DeVito. It's nothing remarkable, but, you know, he was decent in this film. The kids in this movie, oh my god, I could not again, if you want to talk about characters with no personality, I don't know what I can tell you from these two characters. Which is strange because I think the girl is actually Thandie Newton's daughter, so I'm like, how did this happen? Like, Thandie Newton's a really good actress. But yeah, the kids are so boring. I keep forgetting that there was actually a son in this movie, like the little kid, like the girl's brother. Yeah, I keep forgetting that he was actually in the film. They're like, I'm telling you, they are so forgettable. I couldn't tell you their names. I couldn't tell you anything they said. I couldn't tell you anything they did. They're just boring. And let's talk about Michael Keaton in this movie, because good God. Oh my God. And look, I love Michael Keaton as an actor. He's really, really good. He was fantastic in Birdman. But he was so miscast in this film. Like, his character in this movie is honestly someone that Johnny Depp would play. And that's not a knock on Johnny Depp. It's not. Because, like, Johnny Depp's a really good actor. But I feel like this role that Michael Keaton plays would fit Johnny Depp way more than Michael Keaton. But, because, like, when he's doing his bad guy things, then when you look at the weird faces he makes, it's like, dude, this is, again, it's so clear that Johnny Depp would have played this kind of character. It's so clear of that, but man, God. So yeah, I really didn't care for Michael Keaton in this movie. Again, I feel like he was very miscast. Eva Green, I keep forgetting that she's in the movie. She's boring. That's really what the movie really is. It's just boring and forgettable. There's just nothing there. Like, oh God, which kind of just goes to my point that, you know, like with the Lion King, like, yeah, the characters didn't emote all that much, because they're realistic animals. But how do I describe it? But what the Lion King did have was that it cast really talented actors like Donald Glover and Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner and John Oliver and Chiwetel Ejiofor. They cast really great actors in these roles, and like, you know, and Jon Favreau really rained on them to make sure they would perform well. And plus, I mean, even though the new Lion King is almost shot for shot like the original, well, probably more so line for line, like, you know, yeah, it's a lot of the same, but the narrative is still really, really good. And there's also the animals' body language, the music and whatnot. Now, I'm not saying the actors in Dumbo aren't talented, well, maybe except for the two kids, but this direction from Tim Burton is so... I don't know. I honestly don't know what happened with Dumbo. I don't know if it's the direction. I don't know if it's the writing. But Jesus Christ, I just don't care about anybody in this movie. And that's a damn shame, because Dumbo, I think, is one of Disney's best films. It's so good. The original Dumbo is so good. But man, this movie is just so dull. It does not have a strong narrative. The acting is flat almost across the board. I mean, again, Danny DeVito notwithstanding. Again, but even that, it's nothing remarkable. It's just, hey, it's Danny DeVito. But like, none of the acting is that spectacular. It's just a very dull movie. And yeah, for me, this is easily the worst Disney remake I've seen. I haven't seen Pete's Dragon. I haven't seen that. But if anybody, you know, whenever I get into a debate on somebody about Disney remakes and how I defend them, I will give them Dumbo, because I just really did not like Dumbo. Is this gonna make my worst movies of the year list? No, not really. But this is definitely going to end up being one of the most disappointing movies I've seen all year. Because this movie, man, this is a very big letdown. Not only from a Disney remake perspective, but from a Tim Burton perspective. Like, because Tim Burton has done so much better than this. Now, granted, I still think Planet of the Apes is worse than Dumbo, but yeah, I did not like Dumbo at all. Yeah, it's on Disney Plus. If you want to watch it, watch it. I don't recommend it, but yeah, there's that. Now let's get into another Disney film that came out actually pretty recently, and that's Frozen 2. I wasn't I wasn't that excited over this movie coming out. Because, like, I like the first Frozen, but I didn't love it. Now, I used to be kind of unfair towards the first Frozen because I would just hate on it because, it, like, you know, I was a boy and, you know, boys don't want to like princess movies. And it's like, princess movies, and considering Frozen for a good long while until the new Lion King came out was the highest grossing animated film of all time. And then, and of course, there was like merchandise and commercials for it everywhere for like 3 years straight. And of course, you'd hear nothing but "Let It Go, Let It Go," which is a really, really good song. But man, being a little boy back then, well, I wasn't that little. I was 15. Oops. But you know, I recently gave it another shot. I like Frozen. I don't love it. But yeah, there's that again. I like Frozen, so yeah, keep that in mind. Yeah, keep that in mind when I say that I liked but I didn't love the first Frozen. When I say I love Frozen 2, Frozen 2 is fantastic, and let me explain why. They even kind of, like, of course they never outright say this because, you know, it's a movie and whatnot, but they kind of make pretty big hints throughout the film where it's like, you know, the audience from the first Frozen, you know, little girls have grown up a little bit since that first Frozen when they're watching Frozen 2. And so, you know, as the audience grows more mature, the story grows more mature. And I feel like that was very well realized in Frozen 2. This movie feels a lot more riskier than the first Frozen. It presents a lot of challenges towards kids. And what I mean by challenges is, like, you know, moral questions that are asked. And I feel like, I'm not going to give it away here, but I love that about Frozen 2. I love the kind of questions and lessons it presents. And I feel like they are very good lessons for kids. Let me just talk about some of the other aspects of the film. The characters are all really, really likable. Like, again, I don't know if it's because of maturing as the years went on, but I don't know. These characters are very, very entertaining to watch. They're very funny, and whenever they go through a turmoil, I really do feel it. Let's talk about the animation. Holy God, the animation in this movie is stunning. Like, there's, like, you see this in the trailer where you see lots of really big waves and water and whatnot. I at times had to remind myself, oh wait, no, this isn't live action. This is CGI water. The CGI water looks really, really good. The particle effects and whatnot. They also do some pretty clever stuff with the ice powers that Elsa has. Like, I'm just gonna say there's some scenes where, like, she's in a completely black environment, not in a dark room, but I mean, like, literally the environment around her is black, and she uses her ice powers, and you can actually see that they used a little bit of 2D animation with the little ice particles and whatnot. It's really, really nice to see. It's really cool. The humor in this movie, oh my God, it gets really surreal. Especially with this one song that Kristoff sings. I think his name is Kristoff, with the caribou. Oh my God. Like, I don't know how to describe the song that Kristoff has in this movie. It's weird and it is hilarious. That's what I'm saying with the humor in Frozen 2. I thought it was really, really funny. Even Olaf was really funny in this movie. And you even see a little bit of depth with him, which I really liked. Now let's talk about the music. This music feels epic. I know it's a silly term, but I'm telling you, I think this movie, like the music in this film, feels really epic. And there's even this one sort of this recurring tune, or should I say, like a recurring. How do I describe it? There's a recurring kind of harmonizing that you hear in the movie, and it's actually kind of chilling after a while. It's like, ooh, man, like, I don't know what it is, but it's like, they really managed to make this one little, harmonization that someone says, and, have it be throughout the film, and it feels really, really, like, mystical and whatnot. Like, mythical, I should probably say. And, of course, when you get to the song, what's it called? Into the Unknown. Like, I wasn't expecting Into the Unknown to be that great, but oh my god, like, I'm actually, like, I'm constantly listening to this song. It's really epic feeling. It's a lot different from Let It Go, but, damn, I definitely expect Into the Unknown to be in the running for, Best Original Song in the Oscars this year. They pull off this song really, really well. I love that. Also, another thing I love about this movie, the lore. The lore is so fascinating and just, I don't know how to describe it. It's just the way they explain this world and the way they explain her powers. It's just so fascinating to watch it unfold. It's like, whoa. And again, that's kudos to the directors on this movie for doing that. If I were to say a couple of things I didn't like about this movie, there's one scene where Anna is misinterpreting something that somebody says in a comedic scene, but like, she's not that airheaded. Like, she'll make some mistakes and whatnot, but she's not that stupid. Like, she has common sense to know what somebody's actually talking about. So yeah, that wasn't so hot. And also, I will say, if you've seen the trailer or any posters involving this lizard character, or is it a salamander? I don't really know what it is. Yeah, don't get excited for him. He does jack shit in this movie. He does nothing for the plot. He just appears. He has one main scene, and appears a couple of other times, but it's nothing that affects the plot in any way. Like, you could cut him out, and the movie would be right exactly where it is. He just kind of wastes screen time, and I feel like he only serves as something cute for the audience. So yeah, I didn't really care for him all that much. He just did absolutely nothing for the plot. But other than those two gripes, I would seriously recommend seeing Frozen 2. I thought this is a vast improvement over the first one. It feels more epic in scale. The characters are very well developed. The animation is absolutely gorgeous. The music is just, like I said, chilling at times. And also really, really funny. Like, the comedy is fantastic. And the lore is really, really good. And like I said, I'm not going to go into it, but, there's a couple of moral questions that are brought up in this movie. Well, actually, it's really one main one. And it's a really good lesson for kids to learn. It's not where I was expecting it to go, but I'm glad that I'm glad that they did that. I thought that was a really, really solid message for kids. And again, I feel like it's a good lesson for adults as well. I've never really seen this tackled in like a Disney animation before. Like, this is something really, really new, and I would seriously recommend checking out Frozen 2. I think it's great. I still need to see Toy Story 4. I'm going to see Toy Story 4 at some point. But right now, anyways, considering if Disney had actually submitted the new Lion King for Best Animated Feature, because it is an animated movie, I don't care what anybody says, that movie was animated. Considering Disney didn't put forth the Lion, didn't submit the Lion King for Best Animated Feature, and having not seen Toy Story 4 yet or How to Train Your Dragon 3, right now Frozen would be my pick for best animated movie of the year. Only considering that Disney didn't submit the new Lion King. If they did, that would by far be my choice. But oh well. So yeah, guys, have you seen Frozen 2? Let me know in the comments below, and let me know your thoughts. And right now, I'm just going to get myself a little drinky poo. Now let's get on to another one of my most anticipated movies of the year, which was Glass. I was really, really excited for Glass. Like, you know, I love Unbreakable. If you guys have not seen Unbreakable, you really should. It's so good. It's fantastic. I love Unbreakable. And I thought Split was great as well. I probably right now wouldn't say it's in my top 10 movies of 2017. I probably would have replaced that with Star Wars The Last Jedi. Don't hate me for that. But I thought Split was great. I thought it was fantastic. Love Split. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And so now we get to Glass, which is the crossover between Unbreakable and Split, as you saw in the post-credits, not really post-credits scene, I don't know, mid-credits scene, maybe, of Split, where it turns out that the movie the entire time was in the Unbreakable universe. You see David Dunn, Bruce Willis's character, and this is the culmination of that. This is the crossover of Split and Unbreakable. And this movie did not get good reviews at all. Like, this is... Let me look. Glass, I think, is somewhere around, like, hovering around the 30% mark or something. Yeah, it's at 37%. Not the worst score. Like, but, yeah, 37% of the critics liked Glass. Which at first was getting me really disappointed. I was like, aw. But finally watched Glass, and I gotta say, I didn't think it was that bad. Hell, I actually really liked Glass. Is it as good as Split or even Unbreakable? No, not especially not Unbreakable. But I thought Glass was a really enjoyable film. It didn't, like, now granted, I kind of knew what was going to happen to one of these characters at the end of the film, because people spoiled it to me. Hate when that happens. But, if I were to have watched this without knowing it, at first I would be like, wait, what? Why? But, you know, again, knowing that this certain thing happens in the movie, I'm like, okay, well, I'm expecting it now, so, you know, I'm just go watch it. And honestly, I didn't mind the way they did it. And, like, the explanations and whatnot, I thought was very fascinating. Let me talk about the performances. All the performances across the board are really good, especially James McAvoy. Look, I still think he should have gotten an Oscar nomination for Best Actor for Split. I mean, that dude, like, James McAvoy played, like, 9 characters in that film. Well, technically, they're all the same body, but, you know, different personalities. I thought he should have been nominated for an Oscar for that film. But now we get to Glass, and we see even more of that. And while I don't think he's a lead in this movie, I think he's more of a supporting character. I mean, even though he's definitely not getting any, even though he absolutely will not get any recognition for Glass in the Oscars, I would consider him for Best Supporting Actor. I mean, he's just so good. I think, hell, I would probably even say maybe his performance in this is better than Split. Like, his performance in Split was definitely more surprising, because it's like, whoa, James McAvoy's doing this. And trying to follow that up wouldn't be, it's not easy, because, you know, now we kind of expect we know what to expect from his performance when going into Glass, but somehow he manages to double down on that. He's fantastic in this movie, and like I said, he's not gonna get any Oscar recognition for Glass, but I probably would. Again, I still have to see more movies, so keep that in mind. But good God, I love his performance in Glass. Um, and just seeing these characters interact with each other is just so awesome to see. And whenever you get to the climax of this movie, holy shit, things go down. Like, it's exactly what you would expect from, or hell, there's a couple of action scenes in this movie, and it's exactly what you would think. Well, okay, I'm not really good. It's not really a spoiler to say what, like, who fights who in this movie, because like you obviously know that from the trailers that David Dunn, Bruce Willis's character, and Kevin Wendell Crumb, James McAvoy's character, are gonna be fighting. They have a couple of fight scenes, and again, it's exactly what you would think a fight between these two would look like. Like, because Bruce Willis's character is like, well, he's unbreakable. He's almost indestructible. Whereas with the Beast, which is like the big baddie amongst Kevin Wendell Crumb, the Beast is probably the worst of the personalities in terms of, well, do you want to get out alive? Like you don't want to mess with the Beast. The Beast and David Dunn fighting is like, oh my god, it's like one of those nerd moments where it's like, eee! It's just so awesome to see these characters duke it out finally. And again, I was glued to the screen whenever they would interact, and especially fighting. But like I said, this movie, the ending of this movie is very, like, if you don't know the ending of this movie, it would be very shocking, because it's like, wait, they just did all this? And I'm not gonna lie, it made me start thinking. It's like, whoa, this, like it was really fascinating to see all this play out. And I know a lot of people didn't care for the ending all that much, but I thought it was a very bold and a very brave move for this film. Now I have really only one main issue with this movie, and it's that sometimes whenever comic book superhero stuff needs to be explained, there's like these geeky, nerdy comic book guys explaining what superheroes and supervillains do and whatnot. Oh boy, and this is where Shyamalan-isms come in, because these guys are just straight up Big Bang Theory levels of nerd stereotypes. Like, you know how the Big Bang Theory, is like, it's the show for nerds, even though they have no idea how nerds really are, and it's just really cringy. And it's like, oh god, we don't do that. We really don't. Or we don't do it like that. That's making us look weird. Well, they kind of talk. Well, the nerds in this movie kind of talk that way. They're like almost Big Bang Theory levels of cringe. It's like, ah. But luckily, they are very few and far between. They are very much not the majority of this film. And so I am glad to know that. But other than those things, I really enjoy Glass. I think this is maybe one of the more underrated movies of the year. I still think my number one most underrated movie of the year is still The Lion King. But regardless, I mean, I really liked Glass. Again, it's not as good as Split. It's not nearly as good as Unbreakable. But, I don't feel like movies need to be held up to such a high standard in order for them to be good. I'm not saying that's why people dislike the movie. No, people have their reasons, of course. But in my eyes, I did not, again, aside from the Big Bang Theory characters, I thought this was a very enjoyable film. I thought this was really good. And if you have HBO, hey, check it out. It's on HBO, unless you're watching this like 2 years in the future, which, yeah, it's probably not on HBO right now, so there you go. Now, onto our next movie, which is a horror movie called The Haunting of Sharon Tate. This stars Hilary Duff, and basically, if you guys don't know if you don't know who Sharon Tate was, basically she was a victim of the Manson murders. If you got of this guy named Charles Manson, who had a cult of people who would just murder people. It was not a good time in the 60s, or like when it came to when it came to Charles Manson and his little weird cult. And Sharon Tate was the wife of Roman Polanski, who in recent years, well, not really recent years, but for about 20 years is a good reason why you guys haven't heard of him. Just look up Roman Polanski. You're not gonna like what you find. But basically, this is The Haunting of Sharon Tate is a depiction of the Manson murders, but from a supernatural perspective. Yup. This movie takes the real-life Manson murders that actually happened and makes it look like there were, like, supernatural elements. Like, Charles Manson sometimes appearing in a mirror, but then when you turn around, he's not there anymore. It's like that weird shit. And look, my opinion of this movie isn't based on the real-life tragedy that happened. Because, you know, movies and real life are completely completely different. Movies should be really good movies, and if it is based on a true story, you're going to have to take some liberties. There are things where that can go too far, like when, you know, an executive like when a studio executive suggested that Harriet Tubman be played by the very white Julia Roberts. Yeah, okay, that goes too far. But that's because being African American was very integral to Harriet Tubman. So my opinion of The Haunting of Sharon Tate has nothing to do with the real life tragedy, because hey, movies are movies and they should be different from real life, because again, if it works for the narrative. Here's the bad news. I thought The Haunting of Sharon Tate was just a terrible, terrible horror movie. I mean, this was awful. Oh my god. Like, it has all the really stupid stuff you see in horror movies where jump scare, oh wait, it's just a character that we've already seen and they're not the bad guys, it's just one of the friends just creates a jump scare. And of course, as in bad horror movies, the characters make the worst decisions humanly possible. Especially, like, for example, there's an intense scene and there's a gun that they could easily grab, but they don't grab the gun. They just leave it behind. I'm like, you idiots. And there's also things like, I don't know. It's just, this is a really, really awful movie. It's really awful. The acting in it is just not good. It's not believable, really. And like probably the part again, man, I'm trying to think of things to talk about in this movie without spoilers at least. Like it is really hard to describe this film, really. But one thing one of the probably dumbest aspects of the movie was that I think this is one of the worst edited horror movies, like maybe one of the worst edited movies I've seen in a good long while. The editing in this is so terrible. Like, there's a scene, like, there's a couple of scenes where characters are saying, or like, you know, there's like intense scenes where characters are saying things, and there'll be like different camera angles in like one sentence. That's how rapid the editing is, and it's not even clever rapid editing. It's just really sloppy and really dumb. God, I just don't understand. Like, God. I don't know. I'm already running out of things to say about The Haunting of Sharon Tate. This movie just has really, really stupid characters, really, really bad editing. It has a and again, again, my opinion of this movie has nothing to do with the real life tragedy, but wow, I'm actually really running out of things to talk about with The Haunting of Sharon Tate. It's just, right. I still think Norm in the North, Keys to the Kingdom, is my number one worst movie of the year, but right now, The Haunting of Sharon Tate currently sits at number 2. Again, I do have to see more movies, but right now, Haunting of Sharon Tate is at number 2. So, yuck. If you have Amazon Prime, it's on there. I don't suggest watching it, but I mean, if you're someone like me who tries to watch the best of the best and the worst of the worst, then go for it, I guess. Anyways, on to the next film, which is a movie that was released very recently on Netflix and did have a limited theatrical run, and that is Martin Scorsese's film The Irishman, which is based on a real life gangster played by Robert De Niro, and basically this film kind of suggests what may have happened to Jimmy Hoffa. If you guys don't know who Jimmy Hoffa is, well, if you watch this movie, they'll explain it to you very easily. Because I didn't know anything about Jimmy Hoffa, but he was actually a pretty big deal in the 60s. Like, a really, really big deal. And this movie's been hyped up a lot because no studio would take this movie. Like, no studio wanted to make this movie. Like, none of them. And Martin Scorsese was wanting to. He was wanting to do The Irishman for a long time, and no studio would ever greenlight it. Like, no studio wanted to take it, and so Netflix was interested, and they allowed Martin Scorsese to have a budget of somewhere between $100 and $170 million. Because I'll get into this a little bit later, but like, they were going to use de-aging CGI on Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Joe Pesci, which was going to be very expensive. And this movie just so happens to have a runtime of nearly, I shit you not, 3.5 hours. So yeah, this is a big movie, and now luckily this movie's been getting really, really great reviews. But again, I was skeptical because I'm like, what kind of movie needs to be 3.5 hours long? Like, I think Lord of the Rings: Return of the King is like, if I'm not mistaken, Return of the King was Return of the King has Return of the King has a runtime of 3 hours and 48 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. But, that's probably the extended version. Lord of the Rings Return of the King actually has a pretty similar running time to The Irishman, which is around 3 hours and 20-something minutes long. So, yeah, The Irishman is long. But I could understand why Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King, would need to be 3 hours long. Because it's like a big, grand, epic action fantasy adventure film. But this is a gangster movie. What kind of gangster movie needs to be 3.5 hours long? And so I sat down to watch The Irishman, and I'm like, I didn't really feel bored in this movie. Now, granted, I also had my computer with me, and this wasn't really in the background. I was still paying attention to this movie, but I would, like, occasionally, check on something. But I could still, again, it's not like it was in the background or anything. I was still paying attention to The Irishman. But I gotta say, I didn't really feel bored. I really didn't. Again, it might be because I had the computer with me, but there's many scenes in this movie that I was just kind of glued to the screen on. Like, Martin Scorsese really does manage to make this movie feel very cohesive and it keeps a good focus with its running time, which you kind of run the risk of, focusing on other things that aren't necessary to the story to sort of pad out the running time. None of this movie really feels like padding, to be honest. And sure, you probably didn't have to make this 3.5 hours long, but again, I didn't feel bored. I was interested in this movie. And again, that does go to a testament to Martin Scorsese's direction. He did a really great job with directing this film. Now let's talk about the performances. Robert De Niro gives one of the best performances he's given in a long time. Like, he's great. I mean, yeah, Robert De Niro is a great actor, but he really does nail this film, even the more subtle parts. Joe Pesci's really good as well, coming out of his unofficial retirement. And Al Pacino is also really, really good as well. Like, some people are saying that Al Pacino could get a Best Supporting Actor nomination at the Oscars. I wouldn't be that surprised. Let's talk about more of the technical aspects of this film, which include, let's talk about the cinematography. The cinematography is also really, really good. You don't notice it at first, but there's they get some really good shots in this film, especially the final shot. Like, that final shot is probably the shot of the movie. I love it. And there's a couple of scenes that are just, tracking shots of the camera's following some characters around and goes into another place. It's like, you know me, I just love long tracking shots. I love those. But now let's talk about the CGI, the de-aging technology. I was worried about that in this movie because I'm like, how good is the CGI? The CG, like I said, they use CGI to de-age these three characters, and probably some more characters as well. But it's mainly Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Joe Pesci. And I was kind of wondering, is this really gonna work? Nope, it works. It really works. And it took a while for me to realize, but as the movie was going on, I realized, wait, I'm seeing these characters age. Like, throughout the entire film, you see them aging more and more and more. And, with the CGI, and it's very subtle. I love that. I love it when a CGI effect makes me kind of forget about the CGI effect. Like, CGI Joe Pesci looks really, really good as well. And of course, Robert De Niro looks really good as well. Al Pacino's CGI was a lot harder to notice. It was very hard to notice, because I didn't know if it was actually Al Pacino, just regular Al Pacino, or if he was done in CGI. I think he was also done in CGI, but it's hard to tell. So yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if he'll get nominated for Best Visual Effects at the Oscars, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like, the visual effects in The Irishman are really, really good. So yeah, I would and also the screenplay is really good too. I love the screenplay. This currently is in my top 5 movies of the year right now. Again, I have to, I still have to see quite a few more movies, but, right now, The Irishman is in my top 5 movies of the year. I really, really like The Irishman. I thought it was fantastic. And if you guys have Netflix, check it out. Again, this movie's 3.5 hours long, so be wary of that. But hey, let me know your thoughts if you watch it. Now let's talk about another movie that I saw in theaters, which is Jojo Rabbit. Jojo Rabbit was a movie I was excited for. It's from director Taika Waititi, and the same guy who directed What We Do in the Shadows and Thor Ragnarok. Basically, what Jojo Rabbit is about, it's about it's in Nazi Germany, and this kid named Jojo is in this camp so that he could become a Nazi one day, and that's pretty unsettling. But again, it's a comedic style, but I'll get into that later on a bit. And his mother just so happens to be hiding a Jewish girl in their house, and all the while he has to figure out where his morals stand, while he has an imaginary friend who is a goofy version of Adolf Hitler, played by Taika Waititi. Yeah, when you see the trailers of this movie, it looks like a really crazy comedy, like, what the hell? That is just wacky and silly, and it does do that. But I will say, that's not the entirety of the movie. This movie gets dark, especially around the third act. The third act of this movie is honestly kind of haunting at times. I was like, Jesus Christ! Now, what do I think of Jojo Rabbit? I really do need to process it, Because again, it's so jarring how dark this movie got. It's really, really jarring. This could be, this might be one of the best movies of the year. Maybe? Again, I have to really think on this. I think it's good. I like it. And, you know, it's sort of like Avengers Endgame, where I really need to process Jojo Rabbit before I give any big final thoughts and whatnot. But, yeah, this movie's nutty. Let's talk about the actors in general. Let's talk about Roman Griffin Davis, who plays Jojo. He's the lead character in this movie. I think this is his first big role. Like, this is his breakthrough performance. And this is a pretty damn good breakthrough performance. He's really good in this movie. Thomasin McKenzie, I think that's her name. She plays the Jewish girl. She's really good too. Although I think she's actually been in a few things before in Jojo Rabbit, so it's not really a breakthrough performance. Taika Waititi is really, really funny as Adolf Hitler, and he's just really good in general. I thought he was great. Scarlett Johansson is also very solid in this movie, but the person I was kind of shocked as to how good they were in this film was Sam Rockwell. Sam Rockwell is in this movie, and he's really good, especially in this in the third act. Like, he was a lot better than he really needed to be. So yeah, like, that's what I think of the performances. All the performances across the board are really, really good. Yeah. The camera work is pretty much what you expect from Taika Waititi. It's like, there's lots of really good painting shots where, like, it's like, not really painting shots, but it's like a lot of shots in this movie make for really good just pictures. Like, they're just really good frames. And the costume designing is really good. The production designing is really good as well. The editing is really good. Again, with Jojo Rabbit, just, like, do not go into it thinking you're just going to see, like, a goofy comedy throughout the entire thing, because it is that. It really is that. But, man, this movie gets really, really dark. And I'm not even saying that's a bad thing, because the drama works really well. But it's just so jarring considering the trailers. Again, I am on the positive side on Jojo Rabbit. I just need to see how positive. Again, it's like how when I first reviewed Avengers Endgame, I liked it, but I didn't know how much I liked it. Now I think Avengers Endgame is fantastic, and it's in my top 5 movies of the year right now. So maybe that could be the same with Jojo Rabbit. I just really need to process this. But if there's a theater near you playing Jojo Rabbit, go see it. I really liked it. Now let's talk about Knives Out, the new Rian Johnson film, which is a murder mystery. And I know hearing Rian Johnson's name is gonna make some people very angry, but I'm sorry. I loved Looper. I thought Looper was fantastic. And I loved The Last Jedi. I love The Last Jedi, and I can't wait to talk about those movies later on this year before The Rise of Skywalker. But I was really excited for Knives Out, especially with this cast. Like, this cast is insane. You have Daniel Craig, Chris Evans, Ana de Armas, Jamie Lee Curtis, Michael Shannon, Don Johnson, Toni Collette, Lakeith Stanfield, Catherine Langford, Jaden Martell, who you may know who was... I don't know how he changed his last... I don't know if he changed his last name or not, but it's like, you may know him as Jaden Lieberher. He played young damn it. He played the lead character in the first It. Like, he's Billy. I think his name is Billy. Yeah, Bill. He played Bill in It. Young Bill. And you also have Christopher Plummer in this movie, and he's fantastic. This is a very stacked cast. It's really, really stacked. And I was excited for this movie. And, man, once I saw it, I was really satisfied. This movie is really, really good. I loved it. First, let's talk about the screenplay. This might be one of the best screenplays of the year. Again, keep in mind I haven't seen all the movies that came out this year, but man, this screenplay goes in ways I didn't think it was going to go. I know everyone says that whenever it comes to murder mysteries, but this is a murder mystery that I have not seen like I've never seen a murder mystery like this, because man, I don't want to say when or where, but it just goes in directions that I thought I had figured out, but by the time the end of the movie happened, I was like, oh wait, I didn't have it all figured out. Again, I don't even want to say it, because it's like the perspectives and whatnot in this movie are very unique to a murder mystery film, and it's very fascinating. I loved that. This movie just goes in so many crazy directions. And let's also talk about things like the costume design. The costume designing, like, you're looking at this poster right here. This costume designing is so cool. Like, you can instantly, like, when you see the costume designing in this movie, you know exactly who is who. Like, aside from the actors' faces, but if there's one thing I love about movies, it's like, you know, the costumes that the characters are wearing are so different, where you can easily pinpoint each of them out. Sort of like with Jurassic Park, each character had a different outfit scheme, and they were very easy to identify. And that's the way Knives Out is. It's really good. The production designing, oh god, it's gorgeous. It's really good. And the editing is surprisingly very sharp in this movie, because there are scenes where, like, the music is playing and the shots cut with each different tune of that score. I don't know how to describe it, but like the music cuts with the music sometimes, and I really like that. This movie is just really sharp. It's very focused, and I don't know. It just makes me like I don't know how to describe it. But this movie's very specific in the details, because that's what you want in a murder mystery. You want the details to be done very well and very specifically, to where everything makes sense, and that's the way I feel Knives Out pulls it off. Rian Johnson I think he's done it again. He's made another great movie. This is a great murder mystery, and I would absolutely recommend Knives Out. The screenplay for this is so good, the editing is fantastic, the costume design is fantastic, and the cast is so good. They really, really do manage to make the cast do their best, and they really do succeed. I love, like, the cast of this movie is just so good. I don't want to point anybody out in case someone could misinterpret it as a spoiler, but let's just say all of them are fantastic. Now we're going on to the next film in our little movie review binge, and that's the new Leica film that came out this year, Missing Link. This is pretty much their follow-up to Kubo and the Two Strings, and I was interested in this film because I love Kubo and the Two Strings so much, even though, but here's the problem. The problem is that when I saw the trailers, they sucked. Like, I did not like that trailer, the first trailer that we got to Missing Link. I thought I don't know what it was, but it was just so stupid. And I was a little bit worried about this film, although at the same time, I mean, it is Leica, so they could probably pull off something really, really good. And thankfully, this was just really, really bad marketing, because this movie is actually great. This movie's great. Now, what's Missing Link about? Well, basically, this is about this guy named Sir Lionel Frost, who's like an adventurer who hunts cryptids and whatnot, and wants to try to prove of their existence. And he's sent to go find the Sasquatch, or Bigfoot, or whatever you want to call it. And try to prove his existence. And then when he finally meets this creature, he's actually very well spoken, and very he acts human, even though he's he's a Sasquatch. Now, again, this sounds really the plot kind of sounds silly, but this movie actually does it really, really well. This movie is actually really funny. The movie is really, really funny. Like, how I describe it, like, the comedy, I don't know how to describe the comedy in this film. All I will say is that when it was doing the comedy stuff, man, I'm really not well spoken today, am I? I guess not. But it is really funny, and probably the best example of its comedy is actually kind of goes towards another thing this movie does really well, which was like any kind of scenes involving tension or some sort of an action scene or whatever, because there's a scene involving a ship that is both intense and hilarious. And you wouldn't think that it would be able to pull that stuff off. Like, you wouldn't think it would be able to pull off such drastically different tones, especially during one scene, but it really does manage to do that. And let's talk about the animation. Kubo and the Two Strings, I still think is like the pinnacle of Laika's capabilities, but Missing Link does a really, really good job with its animation. Like, not just from the characters, but like, good God, I actually watched a how do I describe it? A visual effects breakdown of this movie, and there are so many scenes where I swear I thought I was looking at something stop motion, but no, there's a lot of CGI. There's a lot of CGI in this movie, really. And it's really hard to tell where the CGI begins and where the stop motion begins. Because there's even scenes that you would swear wouldn't need CGI, but no, apparently they had it the entire time, you just didn't notice. So from that aspect, it was actually, like, that's actually very, very impressive. Because I don't know how to describe it. Like, even, like, you'll just have to see it for yourself, and after you see the movie, look up the the VFX breakdown of Missing Link, and you'll see why I think, like, whoa, why I think it's a very impressive animated achievement. Like, this movie does get a little bit, how I say, it does try to be a little bit emotional at times, and it's not really crying worthy, I don't think. I mean, you do care for what the characters are going through, but it's nothing like, say, something like Kubo and the Two Strings did, or Inside Out did, or something like that. It's a very simple kind of film with a good message, and it's a hilarious comedy that, like, really, this is where the movie really shines. It shines mainly with comedy and adventure. This isn't the deepest Laika film, but it doesn't need to be for it to be a very fun, very enjoyable animated film, and I definitely recommend seeing it, especially considering that Missing Link was probably the biggest box office bomb of the year, because the movie cost $100 million to make. Alright, it cost $100 million to make. It made $24.8 million at the box office. Meaning, it didn't even make a quarter of its budget. And that's just that's just the production budget. That's not including the marketing budget, or any of that. And the box office doesn't even include, the cut that the theaters get. No. This is a big box office disaster for Laika. And I think there are two factors when it comes to this. One, sadly, I don't think people like stop-motion animated movies. I don't know why. It's sort of like the whole 2D animation thing. Like, 2D animation these days is just dead. I mean, Disney's last 2D animated movie was Winnie the Pooh that came out in 2011, and that didn't do gangers at the box office. And, considering a lot of the Laika movies have been suffering as of recently, and considering Kubo and the Two Strings was a box office flop, and now you have Missing Link, which is probably one of the biggest animated flops of all time. This did not do well. This really did not do well at all, and that's a really big shame, because this is a really good movie. But, like I said, I think one reason for why this happened is because of stop-motion animation. Also, the trailers were just not good, and, you gotta put out some really good marketing out there, or else, no one's gonna go see your movie. And that is a big shame, and it really is, honestly. So if you have Hulu, check out Missing Link. Again, I don't know how long I don't know how long Leica's gonna be around after this, but yeah, whenever you get the chance, I'd check it out. It's a great adventure comedy and whatnot. Again, not the deepest movie ever, but it doesn't really need to be. It is just a very entertaining film in of itself. So yeah, I guess on to our next film. And our next film is a very very controversial one, and it's called Unplanned. Uh, Look, I'm not gonna get too political here, all right? But what is Unplanned about? Well, basically, it's from PureFlix. You know, the guys who did God's Not Dead and Samson and all that shit. Well, they made a movie that is extremely pro-life called Unplanned, and this is their first R-rated film. And again, the reason why I'm saying it's difficult to talk about this is basically it's the supposed true story of this one woman who was fighting against who's trying to fight against women's health clinics or whatnot. I don't know how do I explain it, like I yeah, basically she's trying to fight against Planned Parenthood, and yeah, that's basically it. And it's like, look, let's just face it, your opinion of this movie is going to fall on what your thoughts on Planned Parenthood are. Now, keep in mind, Planned Parenthood is not exclusively towards abortions and whatnot. It's not. It also involves women's health and other factors and things that aren't just abortions. This movie tries to make it look like it's only about abortions, but it's really more complicated than that. But yeah, whatever your opinion on the idea of Planned Parenthood is, it's going to affect your opinion of the film. And my opinion of the film is that it's an absolute dumpster fire of a film that is very offensive towards the necessity of women's health clinics. And I'm looking at it right now. Yep, this movie was written by two guys, because you know, we guys know everything that should go into women's health and whatnot. Like we know everything about that, right? And yeah, these two were also the writers of God's Not Dead and God's Not Dead 2. On other propaganda pieces that try to demonize the other side without fully thinking about it, thinking about those things. And this, it's just a really awful movie, Unplanned. Of course, it makes the character who is in charge of the Planned Parenthood clinic, makes her look so evil and whatnot, and it's just, I'm really trying not to get too deep into this stuff, because I try to keep, like, I will, like, for example, in things like, in, what's it called, Hillary's America, The Secret History of the Democratic Party, or, Death of a Nation, I will call out, like, considering those are documentaries, like, I will call out whenever they aren't accurate, because, whereas I said movies are supposed to be movies and not have to worry about being completely historically accurate, documentaries should be. And you shouldn't present false information or exaggerated information when you're doing a documentary. And I called out the inaccuracies of those two movies, because it was relevant to the film. But talking about Unplanned and talking about the stuff that's in this film, it's very hard to talk about, because again, it's getting too political. But really, like I said, I don't know where you'd be able to find this movie. It's maybe on, you could probably rent it on different sites on, YouTube and whatnot. But Unplanned, again, I'm just saying, what your opinion on Planned Parenthood and abortions is going to affect your opinion of Unplanned. Because, it's just going to. I am just of the mind that this is a god-awful film that clearly the writers and directors have no idea what goes into what goes into Planned Parenthood and what women's struggles through these things are. And look, I can't relate to being pregnant. I can't relate to the stress of that. I can't relate to the pain and the the whole ordeal of pregnancy. I can't relate to that. But from what I do know, it's way more complicated than Unplanned thinks it is. It's really it really is of the mindset that, Planned Parenthood clinics are only there for abortions and want to kill as many babies as possible because of some evil plan. It's way more complicated than that, really. But again, I don't want to go I'm not going to go too much into it. All I'm saying is that I'm already looking at Rotten Tomatoes, and it's currently at a 40%, and it is true of what the the critics' consensus is true. It says a dramatic approach to a hot button topic whose agenda is immediately clear. Unplanned will only enforce the feelings of viewers on either side of the issue. So yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not much for me to say about this movie, but it's just this movie really tries to oversimplify everything, and I think it does women a disservice at trying to talk about the issues of abortion, and it's oversimplifying everything to a stupid level to where it's only a black and white good versus evil issue when it's not. So I hated this movie. I think it's just garbage. Who knows? Maybe more movies will be even worse than this. I know a couple of them are, but I don't know how this isn't going to end up being in my top 5 worst movies of the year. I don't see how. But then again, I didn't think the Hurricane Heist I didn't see how the Hurricane Heist wasn't going to be in the top 5, or at least in the in number 1. So who knows? But yeah, if you do check out Unplanned, give me your thoughts on it, give me your thoughts on it as civilly as possible, as nicely as possible. Don't go in the comments and just spew and just yell and what. Let's keep it civil. Let's keep it calm. But yeah, again, this is just a really tricky movie for me to talk about. But I personally just cannot stand this film and what it represents. So yeah. And now our final review of the podcast today is another one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and that was Us. Us is Jordan Peele's second film following Get Out, and Us is basically about this family, and the mother is played by Lupita Nyong'o, or Nyong'o, I don't know how you pronounce her name, and they discover that there's a family that looks just like them, except they're evil, and I was really fascinated by this movie. I was excited to see this, because, I love Jordan Peele as a director, and, because I thought Get Out I still think Get Out is one of the best movies of the decade right now. I thought that movie was so good, so brilliant. It wasn't scary, but it doesn't need to be scary. It was still a very fascinating narrative. I loved Get Out so much. And so I was very excited for Us. I think this was also in my top 10 most anticipated movies of the decade. So take that for what it's worth. But now we get to now having finally seen Us. I will say, I liked it. I did like it. But it was a little bit disappointing considering how great Get Out was. And how do I explain that? Well, again, let me start off with a lot of the really good stuff first. Lupita Nyong'o is fantastic in this movie. Well, like she's good as the regular mother, but when she plays the evil side of her character, Red, or at least, well, the evil version of her, Red, that's where her performance becomes truly magnificent. And again, it's really hard for me to say whether or not Red is the, like, I know a lot of people are saying, you know, Lupita Nyong'o should be nominated for Best Actress at the Oscars this year. I don't know if I would not, I'm conflicted as to whether or not she would be nominated for Best Actress or Supporting Actress, and here's why. The good Lupita Nyong'o, like the good character, she is the lead. And Lupita Nyong'o is good in the film, is good as that character, but she's even better, really, really fantastic as the evil character, Red. But she's not in the movie anywhere near as much as the good character, the good Lupita Nyong'o. So if I were to nominate her for her performance as Red, would that be a lead actress performance or a supporting actress performance? Because clearly, Red has significantly less screen time than the other Lupita Nyong'o. I don't know, it's very complicated. But regardless, she is fantastic as Red, the evil Lupita Nyong'o. And, you know, and again, she's really, really good as the good one too, but she just stands out way more as the evil one. And everyone else does a really good job too. Like, Shaddai Wright Joseph, I hope that's her name. Shahadi Wright Joseph, who also plays young Nala in The Lion King. That's strange. That's funny, but like, she's really good in this movie too. The little boy's really good. Winston Duke plays the father in this, and he's really good as well. You might recognize him as M'Baku in Black Panther, and again, he's really, really good in this movie. And this movie also, I'd probably say this movie is scarier than Get Out. This movie does bring about the creeps a lot more than Get Out did. Get Out was really good, but it wasn't scary. Again, that's not a problem with this movie. It's really not, because I mean, it wasn't a problem with Get Out, because Get Out didn't need to be scary for it to be a great narrative. But, however, I will say, Us, I thought was scarier. It brought a lot of creep factors into it. I just thought it was overall scarier. The cinematography is really good. The score is really good. Whenever you see makeup, it's also really good. All of the, again, all the characters are fascinating to watch, especially the evil ones, because every evil version of a character is completely different from the others. And, again, it's just fascinating to watch. Now, why did I say this movie's a little bit disappointing, even though I thought it was good? Well, it mainly has to do with the ending of Us, which I'm not going to give away. I'm not going to give away spoilers. But I have many logic problems with this ending. Many of them. Whereas with Get Out, I was about to be disappointed by the ending. Like, Get Out almost, well, not really, it wasn't going to have a plot hole ridden ending, but I almost hated the ending of Get Out until you see a car door open. Well, that's all I'll say about the movie. When a car door opens and you find out something, it's like, oh, okay, this ending's awesome now. Us, it doesn't go that route. It's really more, like I said, it's a plot hole driven ending, and I find it to be very distracting because like when you find out what's been going on in this entire film, it's like, wait, all of this was able to happen, and like what, like just coincidentally, and also like how the rules make no sense. The the reason for this happening makes no sense. And even the ending, like, or there's also a certain reveal. I'm like, wait, what? I don't understand this. It's, man, I know it shouldn't, it shouldn't matter this much, but man, considering what this movie was building up to, it's like the ending feels very hollow. And while I do enjoy this movie, I didn't love it. I didn't love it anywhere near as much as Get Out. And I'm not trying to compare this to Get Out. I'm just saying, just as a movie on in of itself, this, like, again, it's good. I like it. But this should have had a few more drafts, especially the ending, before this was finalized. Because this ending, I have so many problems with, which is a real shame because I thought Get Out was perfect from start to finish. So yeah, I am a little bit disappointed. I know this has gotten like a 93% Rotten Tomatoes. And look, I'm not saying, oh, critics are shills. No, I'm just like, but if that is the case, I would probably put us under the category of slightly overrated. I wouldn't say this is as amazing as everyone's making it out to be. Again, for the most part, a lot of stuff is really, really good. Like, the acting is all great. The direction is really good. The scares are really good. The characters are entertaining to watch. And this movie does balance hilarious comedy with scares very well. And for the most part, the screenplay is really good, but it's just at the ending. The ending, again, I have so many problems with that ending. And I feel like they could have fixed that with a couple more drafts of the script. So, yeah, I like Us. I thought it was good, but I didn't love it anywhere near as much as I was hoping I would. So, yeah. And that about does it for this episode of the Hannahcast, everybody. The movie review roundup. I might do another one of these, although maybe not anywhere near as big. But, I still need to see How to Train Your Dragon 3. I still need to see Shazam. I still need to see Ford v Ferrari. I need to see a Medea family funeral. I'm definitely seeing Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. And plus, along with that, I have to catch up with all the movie news. I have to work on that 8 Crazy Nights review. I might have to do some other Christmas reviews. It's a lot going on right now. But, yeah, guys, if you have seen these movies, what do you think? What do you think of them? Which movie do you thought was the best out of all these? And which one do you think was the worst? Or which one are you most excited to see? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks again, guys. Also, don't forget to support my Patreon. If you go into patreon.com/ChristianTylerHannah, there are 3 different tiers for becoming a Patreon supporter. If you choose $1 a month, you get to have your name in the beginning of my videos, or so like you saw in the beginning of this video. If you pitch $5 or more, you get your name in my videos and the Hannahcast audio only version. If you want to listen to the Hannahcast while working out or whatever, this tier allows you to just listen to the Hannahcast, the audio only version. And if you want to go for the big one, which is $15 a month, you can go for the Hannahcast after show, where you can just listen, like where you also get your name in the beginning of my videos, and the Hannahcast audio only version. But the Hannahcast after show, if you so choose to get $15 per month, or at least choose that tier, the Hannahcast after show is basically where me and a guest, Rafael, probably, even though he's not here right now, we'll just talk about random stuff, so you'll never know where each episode will go. So, yeah, guys, that's my Patreon. And also, just as a little reminder, I have a tipping page on Stream Elements. If you want to ask me or Rafael a question and you want us to read it on air, then you can go to you can hold on, let me just try to find this thing here. I'm very unprepared. But if you want us to if you have a question that you want for us to answer on a future Hannahcast, go to streamelements.com/ChristiansReviews. You can have your you can tip us any amount of money. It's a minimum of $2, and the vast majority of the revenue will go to us, because we want to make this channel grow and prosper, and we need your help to do it. So if you can't do it by Patreon, you can do that by just tipping us on streamelements.com /Christian's Reviews. You can leave us a question or just something you want to say to us, and we will read it on air on the Hannahcast. And yeah, guys, thanks so much for listening to the Hannahcast. Everybody, bye.